Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Existential Tetherball. This is a podcast, a series of conversations in which myself and my esteemed co-host Gordon Smith, who you may or may not be able to see in the box to my right, chat about all things embodied, subjective, and meaning. We are really into the exploration of the inner wilds and the wilderness that we can explore together when we find a tether, a word, a topic, an idea, and basically just jam, co-create a wilderness and walk through that wilderness together. So we are super psyched to have Laura Hope-Gill with us today, and Gordon and Laura go way back or back. You're both in Asheville, and Gordon, I'd love for you to set us up on what we're going to be talking about today. Maybe introduce Laura if you're up for that.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Laura and I do go way back and forward. So yeah, we're both in Asheville, North Carolina, and have been for a long time. And so Laura has had various incarnations in Asheville, and so I've encountered her in different contexts through the years, and I've had my own incarnations. But Laura's presence has been so consistent for so long that she's one of the people in town where if you mention her name, everybody knows who you're talking about. That her reputation is really broad, and she is rightfully known as an artist and a facilitator of creativity. She's also a poet and a writer and a painter, and a professor of narrative healthcare at Lenore Ryan University here in town. So Laura and I also have had the opportunity to partner on some creative explorations within my practice around ways for people to approach personal development and self-development, self-knowledge, through creative escapades. We have done poetry and prose and prompting automatic writing, flow state writing, in an effort to help people broaden their idea of what's possible, to see themselves in a new light, and to experience their realities differently. So I've had the real pleasure of being next to Laura through those things. And if I go on much longer, the blushing over on Laura might result in some sort of stroke. So I'll stop. Um, yeah. So welcome, Laura.
Hi, I'm happy to be here, Rachel and Gordon.
Yeah, well, thanks so much for being here and to open us up today. Our exploration today is around story and narrative. And I'm wondering if we can kick it off with you just telling us what story means to you.
Oh, well, I would love to do that. Story means to me a wavelength of experiencing reality. In the story, um, imagination, there's the ordinary world, and that's your lines that you waited in the store. It's the store, it's the needing to buy things to keep you going, and it's the stuff we have to do, showing up to get a paycheck and things. It's the ordinary world. It's very real, but it isn't all. And at a story world, a story approach to this world, I literally think, oh, I have to go out and I have to do something in the sluggish, broken, ordinary world where really bad things are going on and where things are very difficult to get done. Like you need a permit, you need to get a signature, and I know that that's going to hurt, and I know it's going to bore me, and so I'll say, but afterwards, I'm going to come home, back into my story land, and write about it. And that's what I often do. I reflect on anything that happens in the ordinary world, almost like I had to get something, and then I bring it back to my imaginal world and find meaning in it, or I find what was the token that I was supposed to receive, and how does that help me? So it's an interactive way of being. And now we know about a quantum field, and science can put all the numbers they want on it and smash it with whatever they want at CERN, but it's fairyland. And if you're raised in a storytelling family and you're raised writing poetry and with allowance for wild imagination, it's not a mathematical equation at all. It's something that I see it as sort of a middle ground between ordinary world and our internal wonderlands.
Mm.
And when we address it, when we're aware of it, like say, well, what do you want to do today? Or what do you want me to do today? A few minutes later, you'll get something. And when somebody hurts me or something, I ask it. I'm like, did you see that? Am I overreacting? And it is very comforting. And it will say, you're not overreacting. Let's have cake. And it's just this, it's a way of being in the world that's beautiful, even when it's difficult.
A story as a way of being, and story as a way of.
Sorry.
your dog has something to contribute.
As a
Story is a way of being in the world and a way of relating to others and to your own experience, is what I'm hearing.
Yeah.
As not as some like academic idea, but you're talking about a lived practice of story.
Yeah, every second of it. Yeah, even when I'm watching TV, watching streaming, that's a part of it too. That's staying in story. When I'm vegging out on my couch watching whatever I'm watching, I'm not harming myself and I'm not doing harm to anybody else. I'm in this special zone where I relax, my brain slows down. And so I'm a fan of streaming. I think we need it. We need to just go into story sometimes. It doesn't have to be our own. And in the, when I'm not watching a series, the story continues. Something that I saw in the movie will show up in my reality, or I notice right now I'm on a path where the word willow is appearing an awful lot. And so I don't assign a meaning to it. Like, oh, what am I supposed to do? Am I supposed to plant a willow? But it reminds me that you're inside a story. And that happens like in folk tales, something has to happen 3 times, or there's 7 dwarves, or those certain numbers are training us to notice, oh, I saw willow 7 times today. I'm still in a story. And so it just sort of signals back to me that this isn't real, Laura. You're causing this. You're making this up, and it's making it up with you. And if you get too analytical, you're going to lose it. You're going to fall out of the dream. And that feels awful. It feels... And some mornings I'll wake up on the wrong side of the dream, and I'll be like, I'll just go back to bed because, oh my gosh, I woke up in the ordinary world and I don't want to be there. So I just go back to sleep and wake up in the dream world again where I can handle it. Pretty wild, isn't
it? Beautiful. As you're sharing, Laura, I'm really taken to this sort of theme of the embodied subjective space, the inner wilds. I kind of rushed through our intro and this notion of that inner space and the richness of that inner space. And I wrote down a couple things as I was listening to you share your definition and lived experience of this living story, living reality, the living story as reality as living story. I jotted down fiction, and then I jotted down nonfiction. I jotted down subjective and objective, whatever that means. And then I was reminded of this example that I use in client work often when, that invitation for people to inhabit more of that embodied subjective and that individual meaning making. So you mentioned the store as ordinary reality. And I
Yeah.
could come home from the store and I could report that it took me 10 minutes to drive from point A to B, and I entered the store and I went into the aisle 3 to get some kombucha, and then I needed celery and radishes, and then I went through the checkout and
Yes.
the line was long, and then I came home and I walked through the door and here I am, and that's my story. And like, but like,
Yes.
where's the juice? Where's the meaning? Where it's
Yeah.
like, I went into aisle 3 and I was overwhelmed with kombucha choices. This place has so much kombucha.
Yeah.
Let's take it another level, right? It's like, I
Right.
I saw somebody who made me remember my deceased grandfather, now we're into the
Yes.
richness. So I'm curious
Yeah.
about some of that, like fiction, nonfiction. It's still a story
Yeah.
when I tell you the first version, right? Or when I share the first version.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's the plot, right? There's the plot. And the plot of a story and a Karenina long book, but really a woman falls in love with a man she can't have, kills herself in the end. And it
All
sort
right.
of like drains all the juice out, right? Like the
Yeah.
plot. Um,
Whew.
and I find that when I go into an experience, even if it's going to be cranky, like a badly made Ferris wheel or something, I because I've gotten used to this way of approaching life, sort of look for this. I'm aware, and for instance, the security guard at my bank. I'll go into the bank, but the security guard is always really happy. There's this man with a gun and a uniform, and he's happy. And before he was there, my dear friend Cat Williams was the security guard at my bank. She's a well-known singer and artist in our community who died recently. And so there's the story of going to the bank, right? There are the layers,
Mhm.
and there's
Mm.
something, a term I learned recently, and William Blake used it, and so did a scientist living around that time. And in the late 1700s, science and story were still interwoven.
Mhm.
You wouldn't only study science, you would study science and poetry, and everyone was comfortable with that. And William Blake warns us against single vision as the Enlightenment started to push art farther and farther out of the way. And
Mm.
single vision is only seeing the ordinary, and it's only seeing the science, the numbers, not the beautiful stuff of the science, seeing the numbers, the measurements, and the counting. I can't think of anything, it drains life out of life. And then,
Mm.
but when we breathe life into science, like science communication, like the salon that Gordon runs, we get this, and your friend run, and we get the story with the science, and it rehumanizes all of us.
Mhm.
And we can approach these ordinary world details in that way. I can
Mm.
remember my friend Kat when I have to find out what my bank balance is, and I know it's going to hurt, but Kat's there with me, and so it just broadens the thing.
Mm.
And this fairyland field that they call quantum stuff. Can I share a little example? Which is,
Please.
I had a friend who one day just downloaded a whole lot of stress and negativity onto me. And I was driving home after the visit, feeling all of it, like, like choking on this dirt I felt I love my friend, but it was a lot. And so I stopped at Wild Birds Unlimited on my way home. And I didn't need anything, but I liked the name. So I went in to Wild Birds Unlimited, and it was like walking into a Broadway musical. It was like suddenly all these people in matching clothes were saying, "Hey, we have a special on robin food today. Have you got robins?" And another one said, "We have a guest speaker coming to talk to us about bluebirds." I was like, "I have bluebirds." She handed me a big bag of mealworms. She goes, "Bluebirds love this." And I'm like, "I'll take it." It was just this. So immediately I was snapped out of my funk by story. I didn't, by simply recognizing I'm really down in the dumps and I don't want to carry this, and making a choice to do something and follow that prettiness, right? It's sweet. Wild birds unlimited. Like that's a lot of wildness, literally. So
Unlimited.
that it's like, I spent like $200 on bird food, and I became a member. And I didn't go hear the blue bird talk, but in that moment, that place was all there was, right? And there's our overexcitability as a wonderful tool, right?
Mm. Gosh,
Mm-hmm.
what a fantastic way to illustrate that fiction nonfiction place, and
Yeah,
the recognition that if we are dwelling in fiction but we think we're dwelling in nonfiction,
right.
that the distortions can be great. But what I hear you is making that realization, like, well, let me swap this fiction out for a different one because this one feels like
Yeah,
shit.
Mm-hmm.
yeah. This is
Mm-hmm.
boring. Yeah,
Yeah.
boring.
I also hear,
Yeah,
if it's okay, sorry to jump for, I'm excited.
yeah,
This going beyond reductionism, like a lot of times, like I feel like, the space between the zeros and ones is a really interesting space. And that sort of
mm,
need to pin things down and to know, right? It's like I hear you speaking about like science and art. And for me, science and spirituality come from the same place, which is a desire
yes,
to explore and a desire to know that, but it's couched in a greater unknowing. And so as you're telling the story
yeah,
about Wild Birds Unlimited and changing the channel and moving through this sort of like heavy, experience you're having, like being on that listening and being with your friend, it's like being able to change the channel and just access this
yes,
beautiful place, that can re-energize you, that can literally flip the
yeah,
script, right? It's like that's so lovely.
completely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah. And I like to see that changing the channels is very real. And
Mhm.
we from Generation X remember flicking the dial, right? And trying to find something that you want to watch.
Mm-hmm.
And we
Yeah.
have that agency too, with all this, whatever it is going on, like the cabal breaking open.
Yeah.
There are some pathways, channels that I very deliberately say, I'm not going to turn that channel on.
Mhm.
And how far am I going to let that enter my life?
Mm-hmm.
Not much. My purpose in the world is to alleviate suffering, not to generate horror, right? And so there are rules for living in the story world. There are some. There's a Japanese folktale called Green Willow, and it's about this samurai warrior having to run an errand for the emperor in old Middle Ages stuff. And this is a common motif. And he's on his path, and then there's this spirit of the forest named Green Willow, beautiful woman singing and luring him off his path. And the story is he going to follow Green Willow and disobey the orders of the emperor in favor of the self, having a dream, having a beautiful experience?
Mm-hmm.
And I can't remember which he chooses. And but I sort of see things in that way. Like I'm on my path, and it requires a sort of clear vision, right? Like we can't have our mind all muddied with must do, should have, regret, and all of this. It's hard to snap out of that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but the samurai in us can choose. And do we want to go explore that story? Sure. Let's go explore that story. Let's go let it break our heart. Let's go, buy bird seed. And we can say no. And so living in story allows us agency that we otherwise might not have. We kind of feel life is happening at us rather than us being able to see it as, oh, that's a story I want to follow.
Hmm. So within all this, Laura, well, Rachel, let me check in with you before I jump to that, because what I was going to ask is like around differentiation between story and narrative, but I know that we talked about exploring that font of creative energy that Laura had mentioned in our email exchange prior to coming on.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
I guess we'll take that side quest initially, and then circle back around to the other.
Beautiful.
Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, so we're doing this, just kind of bantering back and forth via email, and asked Laura, like, is there anything in particular that is top of mind for her right now that she wants to bring to the podcast here? And she replied with this word that I was unfamiliar with,
Hmm.
called Awen. And Laura, I'm wondering if you can open up the meaning of Awen and how it relates to what we're talking about.
Thank you. Awen is a Welsh word, and it resonates with, I don't want to go deeply into Celtic and Gaelic culture because I'm learning about it, and I don't want to spread anything false. However, I am Irish and Scottish, and it's my people. And the Awen concept is connected to Celtic and Druid worldview. And in our culture, which might be the best way to begin, it's like you have to do all of the things. And then you have 5 minutes to draw in a coloring book. And I'm a big fan of the coloring books, but that's kind of how we treat it. It's like create a little bit of space for your creativity, for your well-being. Whereas flip that back to Celtic and Druid culture, which was fine in our land of Scotland and Ireland, finished off by the Enlightenment almost. And so it's very recent. But in that culture, it's all the creativity and carve out a little bit of time to repair the gate.
Hmm.
And so it's a complete, like the yin yang symbol of balance, and ours are reversed. Awen is a state of creativity, a creative flow.
Hmm.
And when we are in that flow, it's not hobby and it's not distraction, it's engagement with a corrective force, with a corrective energy.
Mm.
And when we are in that deep imaginative space that is often separate from the ordinary world until you're mixing it up,
Mhm.
and we bring in to the ordinary world some corrective element, and we may not even know we're doing it, but
Mhm.
just by being present. And I saw B. Mayhew posted something on Facebook today about how outliers are doing very important work
Mhm.
without anybody noticing. There's just something about our presence that is aiding a system. So Awen is like that. And if we don't go over into the creative, if we do get bogged down in the ordinary, then we're not doing that. We're not fulfilling that function.
Mhm.
So that's kind of a way of seeing it. Yeah.
Hmm.
Without a living experience of that Awen moving through you, it might not be possible for you to like see and experience story the way that you do, right? Like I'm thinking about and
Right.
imagining all of the people who do kind of have that part of them kind of locked down, boxed out. It's like, can a trip to the bank become a magical side quest, you know? And
Right.
so
Yeah.
that flow of creative inspiration animating those inner wilds, that possibility, those
Yes.
landscapes. And I'm also thinking about, imaginational intelligence as a domain or a type of intelligence, very
Yes.
connected, but also that creativity. I love what you said there about like it's sort of like corrective or almost like rebalancing when the ordinary becomes too calcified, when there's like this
Yes.
entrenchedness of reductionism that now all of a sudden everything's just we know everything and now we're gonna take it for granted. Like how boring is this? Like it's like,
Yes.
but do we
Right.
but do
Yeah.
we really? Like, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Gordon and I talk about this a lot, Rachel, that um we're always self-observing or self-accounting, self-diagnosing, and it's from this idea that there is such thing as normal, which has been overruled by Wild Birds Unlimited and other fine organizations. Um, so, and I even see it in my own kid. It's like, oh, I should feel better. I should be. And it's like some days it's an emotion. Someday there's an emotion that's, and this is in the Gaelic language, we don't say, I won't say we yet because I'm still only learning. There's no I am sad. There's no I am happy. It's sadness is at me. Happiness is at me. And I like that. And Connie Regan Blake, the wonderful storyteller, tells a story of a woman in Nigeria who tells Connie that after telling her story, she felt that she has brushed the dust off her heart. So there are these other frames for what we feel. And here in the West, it's wrong. We assume that it's wrong to feel out of sorts. And I teach creative writing and narrative medicine, and people will preface their stories with, I'm sorry, this is a bit of a downer. Like, we don't allow any darkness in this space, whereas the wilds are very much about not knowing and about feeling uneasy and feeling that uneasiness as an opening. Like, ooh, something's about to happen because the wind changed direction or something. And
Yes, and I'll
yeah,
jump in there. You're laying out. You mentioned that neuronormativity earlier, the normal, and for so much of that part of culture, sameness is safety,
yeah,
stability is safety, knowing is safety.
yeah,
And so anything that introduce not sameness or not knowing is not safety and
yeah,
is pushed away versus the reality that I think the three of us are experiencing, which is there's a real lack of safety in not experiencing our own lives.
yeah,
That it is only through stepping fully into one's own experience that there is freedom, which for me is a predicate for safety, and
yes,
that uh, safety itself can get really the idea of what that means can get really distorted by fiction brain, where if we say the wrong thing or do the wrong thing and then somebody's upset or disappointed that we're suddenly not safe, like we've created danger. Whereas all
yeah,
we've done is create a ripple in the field and we've created more story. Um,
yes,
and so that it goes to this like safe, not safe place. And I love what you're saying around that it is through inviting creative force, through inviting Awen in, that not
yeah,
only do we find safety, but we find an expansiveness of
yeah,
of of a feeling that goes well beyond anything the grayscale world has to offer.
yes. Yes, and with this, I did a Buddhist mind training during the pandemic when we first heard that we don't know what's happening. We don't know if we're going to ever end this, but you have to stay home. I told my kid, we each have to have a self-improvement project or we're going to be potatoes by the time this thing is over. And my kid chose therapy and I chose enlightenment. I'm like, okay, this is, it gets lorded over us, right? Like, this is a thing that some ancient people attained, but that nobody can get anymore. And that's why you're wrong, right? That's why you are weak. You can't do this. And I was tired of that. Like, that's the essence of patriarchy. And I was like, I'm going to go for it. I'm smart. I'm sensitive. I've been not meditating, but writing. And I knew my 20 years of Jungian therapy, whatever. Like, I'm gonna take the leap, as Pima Chodron calls it. And it was hard as hell. But I, like all things, I was determined and I stuck with it. And very, very painful. And it allowed me more space. It allowed me to see that, what is it, my things that happen to me are happening near me. And I can observe them. I could carve a part of myself out of the storm And Chogyam Trungpa says, Buddhist mind training doesn't mean you won't go in the blender. It does mean that you can be in the blender and almost enjoy it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so yeah,
And
good, isn't it?
I love that what you just did was actually an answer to the question of the difference between story and narrative. Um, go into the
Ooh,
blender and enjoy it. Like it's the
yeah,
same blender, right? Same blender, same story, but
yeah,
we've changed the narrative.
Mm-hmm.
exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful. Yeah. And with this, after you've gone through that pain of you're not allowed to act out, you're not allowed to ask anything of somebody else. And for me, that's like hell. That's childhood, right? That's childhood. I was
Mm-hmm.
alone. I couldn't get my needs met.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody
Mm,
was asking. And so it's very traumatic. And you go all the way back into that little person who's terrified and you feel the pain. And there's the teaching that now you've survived that, you don't have to be afraid of anything.
Mm-hmm.
mm,
And so you wake up in the morning not afraid of something that you're carrying over from the following day. How about that? The previous day. You're not carrying continued stress. You cut it off. That was yesterday. A whole new quantum field is in effect now. And it's going to be a story. And I may cry. Something might happen that will make me cry. Something might happen that will feel like I'm being crushed under an anvil. Um, I could also be shown something magnificent, and I'm good with all of that because I'm a grown up. I'm a grown up. I can cry, I can mourn, I can grieve, I can
Mm-hmm.
fall through bridges, I can do great things in small ways. So that's very important. That part of the story, beginning it fresh each day. What will you tell me today, world? What will you show
mhm,
me? And I will hold it.
mhm,
Yeah. So it's not escapism, it's going deeper inside reality. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
That takes me right to our next sort of like narrative,
yeah,
narration, narrator, right?
yeah,
All a family of meaning in relation to
yeah,
story. And as you're sharing that, Laura, I'm like, there is a sovereignty in your relationship with story that you have cultivated as a function and as like, it's like a lot of people, I wonder about internalized narrator, internalized narrative embodied, and the body, body keeps the score, body holds the past, the body memory, like not glossing
yeah,
over that, honoring it deeply, and then landing at a place where it's like you are co-creating with
yes,
your present day self, your environment, your surroundings, the imaginational creative intelligence Awen is online, and there is not this sort of like holdover narrative or these narratives that have been internalized from the past, from that pain
yes,
of childhood, and we can talk about cultural narratives. And this question of who is narrating, I think, is a really interesting one. I know when I sent the outline over that I used the word narrative, but it is this,
yeah,
and so I'd love to open up that aspect of the exploration if y'all are down.
yeah.
But as you were
That's
sharing,
lovely.
it made me think right to that. It's like, who is narrating?
Who
mm,
is narrating, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's not us, it's not me. And that's another gift of the mind training. Of like, this is occurring,
Mm-hmm.
and well, I'll give you an example. I in 2022, I fell in my kitchen while feeding dogs, and I flew up in the air and I landed on the back of my head, and I had a concussion. And the first week was okay. I thought I was beating it. But then I went to see Swan Lake. It was my mother's 82nd birthday, so I wasn't going to miss it. And I think that was a mistake because the next day I couldn't open my eyes. I couldn't be in light. It wasn't just I couldn't look at light. It was I couldn't be in light. I could feel light in my body, and it was heavy and painful. And I was like that for 7 months. Now, all of it, my childhood was protected by my Irish grandmother and my very kind French Canadian grandfather, who encouraged poetry, encouraged storytelling, encouraged imagination. So I never got it beaten out of me. And I moved around a lot, so I never really got taught anything. I just pieced together, where are we now? Okay, where are we now? And so I got to build my own reality. And part of that reality was a ghost-like being that I started to notice was inside me. And now we know more about that with the gut brain and vagus nerve. And in the same way that you can describe the universe in numbers, or you can see it as fairies, for me, this gut brain thing is a person, is a being. And I've encountered it. It's made itself known to me, usually when I'm very quiet and when I'm living alone in nature. And inside the brain injury, here was this utter darkness, blackout windows. I couldn't look at my phone. My TV, I covered it with red cellophane because I had to watch something sometimes, and lowest light. But there it was, that slowness, that quiet that our ancestors knew all the time. No distractions, no getting caught up in things. And inside there was a narrator. And it wasn't me. And one day I was in my closet, because in the middle of the day I couldn't find a place that was safe from light, so I would move into that room. And I heard the wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald being sung. And it wasn't me. And it's a little Canadian girl from Toronto. That song is like a national anthem. And so I asked it. I said, that's not me, is it? And I'm thinking this. And the voice said, no, it's me. And I said, and the wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald. And the voice said, yeah, that's you. And I said, are we going to sing all the verses? And it said, yes, we are. And there it was. There was this presence, and I got to hear the vagus nerve speak. And I know that churches and synagogues are latching onto vagus nerve as Moses and Jesus, and a being, a voice, an aid, a guide. It goes back, Marcus Aurelius speaks of it as logos, and he says nobody owns it and nobody controls it, but everything had to be so quiet for me to experience it. So there is, I think that the narrator is the vagus nerve, and it's connected. It's a metaphysical part of our body. Beautiful. Nobody owns it. Nobody controls it. Wild, huh? Yeah. And I still engage that being. I out west, it gave me a name. It told me its name through a series of crazy things that, had I been closer to Seattle, I would have checked myself into a hospital, but I was in a cabin in the woods. So I think I'll just go with it. And going with it, I think there it is, right? Go with it.
Go with it.
And when I wake up in the morning and have a song in my head, I thank the narrator for the song. It's like, okay, Southern Cross, Crosby, Stills, Nash. Haven't listened to it in a while, but that's what's on offer. And so I ask, I wonder what it is in these lyrics that will guide me today. What will I want, and what will I need? And then it was the line, I have all that I have left, and music is her name. And I thought that was it. I should play music today. So it's taking these little tiny subtle things of life and not dismissing them.
Yeah.
And seeing them as something actually trying to help us along. Wow. Yeah.
So I have like 10 open tabs right now. The top of mind is I'm just going to pass the baton to Rachel because she's the wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald super fan.
Laura, you don't know about my recent obsession with this song. Like, and I'm
Really?
talking like obsession. Yeah, absolutely.
This, and this
Talk
is
about it for a
why.
minute. Talk about this obsession.
Yeah. We
I
need to
mean,
talk about Edmund.
yeah, like following the call, right? And a lot of times, sniffing out something or feeling something. But this is really interesting, and this is going to be messy. Like, it's not tab so much as like a constellation in progress that I can feel in my body.
Yeah.
I love what you said about stillness and this capacity to access the inner wilds. This connects to something that we were talking about in our last episode with B, which, we were talking about healthy individuation for a healthy collective. And she introduced this language or this word stigmergy. And I immediately went to like the complexity of those inner wilds. And a lot of my work is really connected to this like existential nervous system exploration. You're also not
Oh,
into it,
wow.
Laura, right? So it's like all
Lovely. Yeah.
coming together. That being said, you cannot access that inner stigmergy, that collection of whatever intelligences are playing together, unless you kind of like come out of that perpetual looking out and looking for a narrator or an authority or a writer and author outside of yourself. When you do get into that place initially, that's really oftentimes it's like the domain of therapy, and people don't touch that inner world until, red light flashing, there's a big problem here, I can't keep it together. But that engagement with those inner wilds and that inner sort of like collective of coordination, you will get in touch with different sort of like animate forces and like nudges and calls and, dare I say, narrators. This challenges the thing of like who is in control here. It challenges this very fundamental sense of I am, which here we are on existential tetherball, like getting into the fundamentals. But
That's
like
it.
I love how you're sharing this experience, and there is this like fear, I think, that oftentimes accompanies it. I had a friend who went through a very traumatic brain injury, and she was in a coma in the hospital for some time. And she spoke about getting in touch with, her thinking mind's offline, her body's immobile, and there's a force there. There is a life force there. There's an intelligence. There's a narrator, So
Yes.
thank you for sharing that story. And it's rife with
Yeah.
fun little coincidences along the way, synchronicities,
So good.
including my obsession with the Edmund Fitzgerald, which then I saw it pick up in the collective a couple weeks later with this sort of like,
Oh,
it got
wow.
real hot in the meme space, and it got real hot, in the in the zeitgeist.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
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 And Gordon Lightfoot wrote that in like a day. And then 2 days later, it was on the radio. And then it got nominated for a Grammy, and it lost to the Bee Gees, More Than a Woman. And anyway, just something that I know about that
I
song.
love knowing that. I love that I know that now.
He told that story at a concert here in Asheville. I went to see him. I saw him 3 times. But there he is. He's our storyteller for Canada, right?
Mm-hmm.
And and he did Chicago too. I mean, anytime there was an injustice, Gordon was there ready to sing about it. And I think that all of our artists, right, all of our painters, all of our songwriters, um, Cardi B to Gordon Lightfoot to the stuff the Tallis scholars sing, that's the narrator. That all of the art is one being giving us a little encouragement along the way. And it's why the roughest, toughest, meanest person has music in their life. It humanizes them a little, as much as it can. And we're not alone. We're living in a creative universe. And when we're in pain, like after 9/11, Billy Collins became the poet laureate. And he was the right guy to have. We didn't need a heavy, belaboring poet. We needed a poet whose book could be #1 on the New York Times bestseller list, where poems never go. And if you can pause it, we can see that throughout history, the right stuff has come at the right time. We got Shakespeare just before the Enlightenment really cut art and poetry and introspection magic out of the picture. So we get Midsummer Night's Dream, a play showing us that there are two worlds. There's the ordinary world and there's the fairy world. And the fairy world can really mess up the ordinary world. And then by dawn, things are back to normal. And that was what was cut away.
Mm.
And today, culture is so powerful.
Mhm.
The culture is very rich, and the politics are very poor. Right? There's no character. There's no accountability. There's no FBI watching out for us because they're a part of it. But listen to the music that's coming out. Right? The new plays that are coming out around the world. And that's reality. We have the ordinary where things are slow and cranky and they're squeaky and they're full of failure. And there's this gorgeous richness surrounding it and occasionally coming in and giving us what we need. So we can look at oh, sorry. Yes, Gordon, please. Yeah,
There's
sorry.
there's a really um, subtle move that leads to these worlds that you're describing, Laura, in a course that we did together called Poetic Reasoning. We called it the Little Hop, and
Yeah.
it was moving from it's like living in someone else's story, essentially, being a non-player character, to opening into this flow state where the same things are happening, but the meanings are not yet settled questions.
Yeah.
That meaning space,
Mm.
it opens, and as it opens, it alters the story and begins this interrelatedness between our own meaning making,
Yeah.
the happenings themselves, and then the mystery, the whatever that other narrator is, whatever that
Yeah.
homunculus muse is. Uh,
Yeah.
Mhm.
and so that subtle shift that can be as simple as when you're driving down the street thinking to yourself, oh, I'm in a story right now,
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's it.
can be enough to
Yeah.
help you notice
Yes.
the wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald.
Notice the wreck of the Edmund
Yeah.
Fitzgerald. Notice, and like, yeah, I mean, to reclaim or to claim and take like self-centeredness, the engagement of these inner wilds, the embodied subjective. It's like you were talking about the enlightenment, and I was like, you turn the lights out on enlightenment by turning the lights out. Like,
Right.
no, we need the lights to be out. It can't be scorched earth. Like, you need dark in order for things to thrive. Things germinate in the dark, right?
Yes.
Similarly, I'm taken back to this sort of like healthy individuation, and I am there. And then it's like, this is happening with and through me, right? This reciprocity of
Yeah.
ecology, where it is like, it's actually more ecological to become a character in your own story than to
Yes.
regurgitate the
Yes.
narratives that have been kind of like put upon you or that your body has internalized. And in that process of kind of like letting the Ghostbusters out, like you open
Yeah.
Pandora's box and everything comes out. If enough emptying occurs, then you do get into this place where that reciprocity is like physically possible.
Yes.
Yeah.
And Laura, what you're describing is like a lot of things led you to it, but a practice of that little hop, a practice that has led you in all of these directions. And I know that that's a part of what you're doing in your vocation as well,
Mhm.
in narrative medicine and in creative writing, and inviting people to make that little hop and inviting people to come out
Yes.
of rigid narrative. I'm wondering if you can talk about that a little bit.
I
Mm.
would love to. Gordon joined my narrative medicine class one night, and we had a surgeon and 5 doctors, a whole lot of counselors and therapists in there. And I invited Gordon to run a improv for gifted adults. And this, my students didn't know they were gifted, but they're doctors and they're counselors, they're healers. Of course, there's a neurodivergence going on there, or we'd be on Wall Street. Thank God. And one of the doctors called me the next day, and he said, "Hey, did you talk to that guy? Did you talk to the improv guy?" And I said, "Not yet." And he goes, "Well, I'm wondering if he thinks we did okay." And we had spent the hour, like the back of my head was in pain from laughing so hard. And we were all like above cloud nine by the end, which is what this activity lets us do.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, "Charlie, are you asking if you had fun the right way?" And he's like, "Holy shit, I am asking you that." And I'm like, "Let's end this call, Charlie. Let's end this call and pretend it didn't happen." And then a few weeks later, when he got into writing, and I don't tell them what to write. I say, just write 800 words every week.
Mm-hmm.
And then we'll come together, we'll talk about our reading, and we'll see what came up. And that's just to allow their intuition to start to churn things up. Let that vagus nerve do its thing.
Yeah.
And I don't criticize, I don't judge, and that's the secret sauce.
Mm-hmm.
And you get these people saying, "Tear it apart." I don't take it personally. I'm like, I don't know you. How can I tell you if your writing is what you are? I don't do that. And anyway, some weeks went by, and he called, and I couldn't take the call. And he texted me, goes, "It's all right, I'll write about it later." And I was like, "Ooh, I hope Charlie's okay." And Charlie is a tremendous doctor. He runs like 4 or 5 gerontology units and assisted living. And he's called. He did write after the weekend was over. And what had happened was, The Wiz was being performed in Charlotte. There was a Formula One race, and there was something else. And all 3 things spoke to his childhood and his adolescence. And so he went on this quest, and he touched his youth in 3 different ways. He recognized it first. There's the trick. And then he watched The Wiz. And what he ended up writing was about how he had become the Tin Man. He'd become a narcissist, and he was used to running everything, and he had forgotten how to follow things.
Mm-hmm.
And that The Wizard of Oz is about following an idea and not knowing where you're going. And he had let go of that in medical school. And he hadn't let go of all of it, because he's a wonderful Boy Scout leader and has everyone playing kazoos in the retirement home. So he's not totally, he didn't lose it entirely. But now we're a year later, and he's not taking class this semester, but we have a WhatsApp group. And he has ordered movie making equipment because he always wanted to be a cinematographer. And he's working with his son on scripts and stuff. And so he's still running 4 or 5 assisted living facilities. He's still a brilliant doctor, and now he's whole.
Yeah.
And we had breakfast one day. He said, "I'm building a grotto." And I'm like, "Are you?" He goes, "I've always wanted a grotto." So me and some other doctors were building a grotto, and we're going to play our guitars there. And I'm like, "I didn't know you play the guitar." He goes, "I don't. I'm going to learn how to play the guitar." So it's just like, and now when his patients need medicine, he's offering story. He's like, "Hey, I see that you're agitated right now. Let's sing. What's your favorite hymn? The Christmas song. It's Little Drummer Boy. All right, pa-rum-pa-pum-pum. Everyone come around." Anxiety gone. So this is a wholeness. This is a completion. It's not a digression from our worlds. And when narrative medicine first started coming to light 15 years ago, no one would talk to me. They'd be like, "This is woo-woo even for you, Laura." And I'm like, and now 85% of medical schools teach narrative medicine. And so we're not derailing surgery. We're not filling patients with little Bo Peep. We are completing medicine.
Beautiful.
So beautiful.
And it's working. And it's healing things that people can't explain. It's healing. Like, first, there's the emotional stuff. Okay, we understand, but it's accelerating cancer curing. It's eliminating arthritis. It's getting rid of chronic illnesses. And it's because we're happy. And we're learning the little hop. Yeah.
And for anyone listening who's interested in narrative medicine, go ahead and give it a Google. And if you do narrative medicine research as your Google, you're going to find near 900 peer-reviewed research articles about improved health outcomes among folks who are practicing this stuff. So yeah, for the materialists and the more mechanical listeners, this is your invitation.
Yes.
Is to get between the zeros and ones, as Rachel said, is to recognize that you're in a story right now. And that what that means is up for grabs. You can throw those doors open.
Yes.
And for those same materialists, I'll also twist the prism a little and offer this. Things cannot be perpetually in formation. And exformation stop making sense. I love the talking heads, right?
Yes.
We're always trying to synthesize and make sense of our senses and create these shapes and forms. But sometimes the shape shifting, the composting, the Awen, right? This sort of reformation, this aliveness that so many of us are oriented to, where it's like the ordinary and beyond. That there is, a lot of what we're talking about is this bottom-up processing without this impetus to make the shapes and the forms and to turn it into information. So they're really
trying to get it to fit.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Well, I have a love. Oh, pardon?
Well, I think that we could go on for some time here. I just want to recognize that this is one we're going to need to keep coming back to, Rachel.
Oh, absolutely. And we also are at we are establishing a 50-ish minute thing here. So yeah, I'm feeling like we could keep going, but also I would love to return to this as the podcast and series builds. And yeah, this has just been so lovely, Laura.
So before we close, Laura, is there anything that you have going on that you want to share with folks, or how folks might be able to find you?
Thank you so much. A lot of my stuff is on my website, laurahope-gill.com, and I'm not doing much these days. I'm teaching, and Marcus Aurelius has a line, don't begin much, and you won't have to do much. And I think he's speaking right to us, right? Like, we have these ideas. It's like, let's do this. And now I write it all up and then I delete it. But I want to share one little thing about the little hop that is necessary, because in order to trust it, you need to know how good it is. And that was when I was in that brain injury. It's in the 6th month. I couldn't think. I didn't have cognition. Laura, was not there. And and then somebody posted on Facebook, which I would check once a month, something connecting it to story. And it wasn't somebody I knew well, but I was like, they're reminding me of something. What are they reminding me of? And that was the seed to help me be cognizant of, this is something happening near me, at me. And I relaxed. And then one morning I woke up and I could see everything absolutely bright and clear and clean. And it was so clean. I knew it wasn't mine, and I knew it wasn't real. And I had my sleep mask still on. So I talked to my neurologist about this. I was like, okay, so fairyland is real. And he said, think about it. Your brain, you see all this stuff every day. You touch all this stuff, that when you had suffocated your 5 senses so severely, because I couldn't taste, I couldn't smell, I couldn't see, and I'm already deaf. And so I was down to touch here, that it could make it up entirely without you needing it. So there's the little hop. We have a second nervous system. And that's the huge thing. So now when I'm letting out the kite string and letting myself go way out there, I know I'm safe. I know I'm safe. And that's the thing that I think people really want to know. And at what point are you going crazy? It's like when you're harming somebody else. That's there's the
Mm-hmm.
line. But the rest
Thank
can
you.
be you.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that beautiful?
It is.
Yeah.
It is. And
Thanks for
you
letting
are.
me explore it. Thank you so much. And I owe Gordon so much we went to the same gifted school in Sarasota. We didn't know each other, but that was an important little light for me too. Like he's talking about giftedness and he went to Pineview. So that's been a big part of my unfolding is just knowing it, right? And you were doing this with,
Huge.
yeah.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Oh,
All right. Well, thanks for being here, Laura. Thanks everybody who has stayed and continues to show up. We know we're not for everybody, but we're for who we're for. And if you like what we're doing, go ahead and like it and subscribe it and follow it and share it and do all the things if you're so moved. We like that stuff, and it actually helps other people find this.
Mm-hmm.
So the more you're willing to contribute in that way, we'd appreciate it. And if you have anything that's been sparked through our conversation today, please feel free to reach out and share that stuff with us. This we intend for this to continue to be an aggregate of community.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Well said.
Happy to be in community with you both. Have a lovely rest of your day.
Thanks.
All right, bye.
Bye.
Oh, here's